everyone, welcome back to Parenting Dyslexia 360. For those who don't know me, I'm Christine Patterson. I am a board-certified pediatrician and I am also the mother of a child with dyslexia. I started down this journey of trying to support other parents of kids with dyslexia when I realized I didn't have the knowledge I needed to be able to help her despite years of medical training and pediatric training and developmental training, that there was still so much more I needed to know. So I have learned a ton over the last few years, and a little bit of a guilty pleasure for me is that I am a neuroscience nerd. It was my major in college. I took a lot of psychology classes and biology classes and learned as much as I could about how the brain works. And so digging back into literature and research about how the brain works in relation to learning to read has been really fascinating for me. And so I wanted to make just a beginner level video about the brain and learning to read so that you all would have an understanding of how a dyslexic brain might be different than other brains. So let's get started. So essentially, there are different parts of the brain for processing different types of information. So there's one part of the brain that is responsible for language and sounds, and another part of the brain that's responsible for processing symbols or letters and words. These are two parts of the brain that were never meant to talk to each other. Reading is not natural. Our brains, the human brain, was never designed to be able to read. This is something that humans have learned how to do, but it was not naturally set up for it. So these two sections of the brain that are vital for reading, one's more the sound side and one's more the vision side, really aren't connected to be able to communicate with each other well. So it is possible to form new connections in our brain. We know that young brains it's called neuroplasticity. So the neurons and the connections between neurons, which are brain cells, are able to change. As you get older, it's much harder for connections and new networks to be built. So in a neurotypical brain, in early childhood, when we introduce books and we teach about letter sounds, and preschoolers have their letter of the day and they learned A says ah, and the exposures we give to our children as books and how we role model reading in our home, like all of those things start to come together over those first couple of years of life. And you can start to form a connection between that language part of the brain and that vision part of the brain so that you can start to understand that these symbols represent sounds. And that is the precursor for reading. So those two areas of the brain have to talk in order to produce reading. In the dyslexic brain, it seems to be harder for this connection to get established. So when a dyslexic brain is processing language and trying to process symbols on a page or letters on a page, it reaches out to other parts of the brain, parts that its familiar vocabulary, its previous experience in life, the context of what's happening in the story, the pictures that might be on the page to help give clues as to what that word might be that they're looking at. And this makes this need to pull in information from other parts of the brain, even as a dyslexic brain starts being able to read, makes the reading kind of slow and clunky. So this is where early intervention becomes important. The earlier we can identify that somebody has a dyslexic brain and put the right kind of teaching into place, such as structured literacy, then we can start helping to form that connection in a more streamlined way. We know that if we can start appropriate intervention in terms of teaching a dyslexic brain how to read in the way a dyslexic brain would like to be taught, if we start that before age 6, then we really could potentially generate a good communication between that language and that vision part of the brain, such that reading could be very fluent and automatic. And the earlier you start the proper instruction, the more automatic that connection will become in the dyslexic brain. And as I'm sure you're saying to yourself, this is a real challenge. The average age a child is identified as having dyslexia is more like 3rd grade or 4th grade. So those kids are 8 and 9 years old. So this is not to say that structured literacy has no place after those ages. It still works. But if we want the best chance of a smooth connection between those different parts of the brain, the sooner we can start the interventions, the better. This is why you may be hearing about different states putting into place legislation to try to screen kids younger and younger. So hopefully we can identify the kids who need this kind of instruction sooner. So I hope this helped you understand a little bit about how reading is developed in the brain, and I would love to get nerdy again in another video and maybe talk a little bit more in depth about the brain science and what the research shows about dyslexia and how to support dyslexia. If you enjoyed this video and you would like to see more videos like it, please comment below and let me know. Let me know if there's other brain nerds out there like me. Also, if you found it helpful, share it with friends that you know, other parents that need it, and be sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.